Welcome back to the Balance Sheet Podcast, where we cover all things women's wrestling, part deux for this week. We had so much content that we had to give our listeners more, and sometimes more is better. And on part two, on this episode, we're going to cover all things WWE. Part one, which will be available as well, was about AEW New Japan and the week that they had in women's wrestling. Now we're going to go over to WWE / NXT, who also had a tremendous week of women's wrestling. I want to introduce the third member of our team this week, Oreo. Say hi. Oreo is my beloved Shih Tzu. He is the first dog I ever adopted. I adopted him out of a Chicago shelter. He has been with me for 12 years. I adopted him as a puppy. And, he's such a legend in my family that I have three cousins, one in Houston, one in Chicago, and one in South Carolina. They all have Shih Tzus because their kids, my nieces and nephews, saw all the videos I've posted of Oreo and wanted a dog that looks just like him. So, Oreo, you are the king for a reason. So, we had a great week of WWE women's wrestling. It started on Monday Night Raw, where we really saw the precursor to the the mixed tag match at Bash at Berlin, where you had the interaction with the Terror Twins against Judgment Day. You also had the emergence of the Sky Pirates, who are tonight on Raw, going for a number one contenders match for the women's tag belts. On Friday, SmackDown, we had a main event women's match, Nia Jax versus Michin. Billy, you're a huge fan of Michin, in a street fight that delivered. I mean, the street fight was a tremendous match. They beat the tarp out of each other. Michin looked very strong. And they actually must have been listening to our podcast because they took the finish, which was Nia and Michin are knocked out. Tiffany comes out with the briefcase. Is she going to cash? Is she going to help? It looked like she was going to cash. She made it look like she was helping Nia by even putting, by knocking out Michin and then putting Nia on top of her, then trying to give Michin the prettiest moonsault ever. And then we got the music that we have not heard in a month, which was Bayley. Yep. And Bayley returns, has Michin's back, beats up Tiffany. In that distraction, Nia gets the win in one of the craziest spots I've seen in a long time, which is she put the garbage can over Michin's head and did the Annihilator on top of the garbage can, which I don't know how you make that not hurt. So props to Michin for taking that bump, but it was a great visual. It looked the part. On Saturday night, I'm just recapping WWE this week. On Saturday afternoon, we got one exclusive women's match on the PLE, which was Bianca Belair and Jade challenging Alba Fire and Isla Dawn for the women's tag belts. And look, we've been talking about this ad nauseum on this podcast. You got to put the belts back on Bianca and Jade. You got to incorporate Naomi into it to make them the Freebirds and just let them cook with the titles for a long time, because those three women are superstars. They will draw interest. People will care about the belts if they hold them. Bianca and Jade looked tremendous. They came out in matching green outfits. The crowd was super into them. There was a lot of EST chants. There was a lot of Jade chants. They really liked them, and they delivered. It was a pretty good match. They had some really cool spots in there. They won the tag belts, as they should have. And then later in the card, we got one of the better mixed tag matches I can remember. You had Dominic Mysterio and his girlfriend, Liv Morgan, the women's world champion, against the Terror Twins of Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley. And the crowd was so into Rhea. Mommy chants, we want mommy. They want to see her give the riptide to Dom so badly, and they have been doing such a great job of teasing that spot where every time she's about to pull them off, and the crowd's like, oh, and then they get disappointed. So they have something there. And look, I've also said this about the Raw men's tag belts. Put them on Rhea and Damian Priest. Because as a tag team, they are more compelling than any other men's tag team in the WWE. They just are. And it's very believable that Rhea could beat up guys. It's very believable. They sell for her. And I mean, like McDonough, I mean, I think she, the way she beats him up, it looks very believable. So that was a great showing for the women on Bash at Berlin. And then last night, we kind of had the cherry on top where NXT had two really good women's matches. North American title, Kalani Jordan defending against another fave of yours, Wendy Chu. Wendy has the new kind of sleep Undertaker goth character. And it was a good match. It was a solid match. It set up Wendy Chu's next feud also, because if you watch the post match, what is her name? Came out and choked her out.
Tatum.
But Tatum choked her out. But Kalani Jordan defending her belt, and she's continuing to rise. That was a really good match. But I gotta say, Roxanne versus Jada Parker, tremendous match. For Jada Parker to only be wrestling for 1 year, and that was her first ever premium live event match. Wow. Unbelievable. That match was great. It was the perfect, you have the seasoned, experienced champion against the rookie who's strong, who's powerful, who's physical. And, Roxanne had to use her guile and her intelligence and her savvy to outsmart her and to outmaneuver her. Roxanne is such a talent. I mean, look, I don't want to rank women's wrestlers for this year. We'll do that at the end of the year. But it's hard to find anybody who's on top of their game more on either male or female wrestling-wise than Roxanne. She really is the prodigy. She is just a phenomenal talent. Her selling, how crisp she is in the ring, her mannerisms. She has really bought into this heel character, and she's done a magnificent job. The match it got time. Crowd was so hot for this match. Let's go Jada, let's go Roxanne. Chants for the whole match. Crowd was invested, they were into it. Roxanne won with 2 pop rocks. She pop rocked her outside on the padding, and then she pop rocked her in the ring. And it kept Jada strong, but it gave Roxanne the clean win, which they should have done, because, as everybody has been anticipating, there are 3 hot women free agents coming into NXT. And we saw one of the 3 last night in making her debut finally, which after it seemed like she had 47 farewell tours in Japan, Giulia. And look, you can say what you want. Giulia looks like a superstar. The music, the aura, the entrance, how she carries herself. I mean, they have a saying on X, the face card doesn't decline. Hers certainly doesn't decline. It could be a black card. She looked every bit the superstar that she looks like in Japan, but had that even new aura to her. She came out with the leather pants. She came out with, the snakeskin belt. She just looked like $1 million. And Roxanne was so great in the segment, clutching the title, knowing that, this could be the person who takes the belt from me. And she played it up so well, but then she recomposed herself, put the belt in her face and said, yeah, come get it. And look, I don't know what Shawn Michaels was thinking last night, but why this didn't end the show, I don't know. And that's my only knock on this whole week of women's wrestling for WWE, is that match with that debut should have ended the show with the cameras going off the air with Roxanne holding the belt in front of Giulia. Because let me tell
Yep.
you something. That crowd was so hot for that face off that would have been the perfect way to end the show. And you cannot tell me that Pete Dunne returning to NXT to beat up Trick Williams was a bigger deal than that. You can't tell me that. I don't believe it. And so, um, overall, though, again, WWE knocked it out of the park this week. They had their women main event. They had, they gave you everything they wanted out of Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair, who I've always felt like are the two stalwart, tent poles of WWE women's wrestling, which is Bianca won a belt and Rhea beat up everybody and looked good doing it, and that's what they want. Roxanne was tremendous. Io was tremendous. I mean, there's just a lot of great women's wrestling right now. WWE has some of it as well. And we'll see where they go with these tag belts because Bianca and Jade are on Raw this week. Io and Kyrie are wrestling Zoe and Shayna for the opportunity to be the number one contenders. And let me tell you something: a Bianca Jade match versus the Sky Pirates, you have my interest. I'm excited because anytime I get to see Bianca against Io, I'll take it.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, you kind of covered everything. So I'll drop in on some of the things that stood out to me. I thought the Nia Michin match was really, really good. It delivered. I love that it was in the main event spot. I love that they protected Michin. Uh, you know, if you're a 9-year-old that doesn't think behind the scenes, doesn't think booking, and you're just watching the show for what it is, are you getting close to believing that Michin could be champion, right? Because I think I said last week is like, man, I hope they do that mid card title because she'd be perfect for it. That's part of me just assuming, knowing how stacked they are at the top. Does she ever break into that top group, especially with like a Charlotte coming back and some of the things we know going on behind the scenes? But they've done such a good job with Michin on TV over the last 2 months that if you are that suspend disbelief fan that's not paying attention to behind the scenes stuff, she really has been a threat for that title. Props to Nia. She's just been so good since she's been back. She's she's so much better in this role than she was, I feel like, the last time she was champion. Um, and that Annihilator spot, I thought the one she did against Lyra, I still don't know how they do that without breaking Lyra's ribs. And on this one, I don't know how they do this spot without putting Michin at risk with that pinch coming down on her abdominal area. So obviously they figure it out, or maybe these women are just tough as hell and it hurts like hell and they just get up and keep going. But um, just visually a stunning way to end a match like that. And I think you could have a 20-minute match, a 10-minute match, whatever. If you can end it in a way people are going to remember, the ring collapsing with Braun Strowman, or the hair whip with Bianca on Sasha, or getting crushed in a trash can. Those are the things that are going to stick with people. And I think Michin will be just even more over, continue to be over because of it. So I love that spot. I was happy to see Bayley back. Looks like we might get a Bayley Tiffany feud, non-title, which would be fantastic. Because if they're not going to do the cash in anytime soon, they've got to have something slow Tiffany down, so that they could tell the story of her and Nia falling apart. So, might just be like a 1 month deal once they reshape the rosters, but that'll be fun TV for a while. Liv and Rhea, I'll get to last. Because I have a different opinion on that. I think you know what my opinion is. NXT real quick. I thought Roxanne and Jada put together a fantastic match. I felt like it was a Bianca Sasha homage a little bit of the WrestleMania match, the powerhouse versus the savvy vet, like you said. But they made it their own, obviously, and this time the savvy vet pulls out the win, unlike the Bianca Sasha match. Maybe even Sasha homage gear vibes for Roxanne if I'm not reading too much into it, but it looked a hell of a lot like the WrestleMania 37 colorway to me. But I don't think that there's a strong argument that Roxanne's not been the best, certainly the best woman in WWE this year, because you can't argue the consistency, and she's becoming that ace that they could always trust in a big spot at 22 years old. It's insane. It's insane how good she is already, and continues to get better. So I'm really interested in what happens with this Giulia feud. Giulia, they've made a big deal about her coming in, as big of a deal as they've done for anyone. And they're going to go straight into a title feud. And so you almost assume that Giulia has to win, but Roxanne's been that good, right? So it's going to be great TV because you can't assume anything. And I'm sure the match will deliver. So that has to main event. It's a mistake that Roxanne didn't main event last night. Giulia Roxanne has to main event. I presume it'd be Halloween Havoc. Is that the next big one?
It's going to be Halloween Havoc. And Stephanie Vacour posted that,
good things come to those who wait.
Good things who comes to those who wait. So maybe she's getting close to coming in as well. I think Giulia has to lose the first match. I was against her losing right away at the beginning, but thinking about it, Roxanne is so hot that I think you got to get Roxanne at least one win over Giulia to add to her resume. And then when Giulia finally beats her, then you have the moment and Roxanne's finally been conquered. But I wouldn't beat Roxanne right away. I would let Giulia lose because you could tell the story multiple different ways. I mean, she could cheat to win. Maybe Stephanie Vacour costs Giulia and then it becomes a three-way. I don't know. But, Stephanie and Giulia have their own rivalry from Japan. I mean, Stephanie has beat her in Japan. So, you could tell it that way. I just think Roxanne is so hot as a heel champion that, yes, as Giulia is tremendous debut. She still needs her character to be flushed out for American TV audiences.
Yeah,
Roxanne doesn't have that problem. Roxanne is
right.
as over as anybody in that NXT roster. Look at the signs last night. Look at the crowd. Roxanne losing the title is going to happen. It's inevitable. And I can make a strong argument she shouldn't lose it until WrestleMania. And then she should get drafted to one of the shows and start her journey on the main roster. But
so
right now, I would keep Roxanne in NXT and I would let her beat Giulia at Halloween Havoc.
Yeah, so that's an interesting, so something I've been thinking about since last night, and walk with me here real quick. Giulia, Stephanie, Delta added to Roxanne, Jada, Kalani, Cora Jade returning, and then already the young talent that's been brought up on the main roster that hasn't necessarily ascended all the way yet. Tiffany, Lyra, Chelsea's done some good things. I'm just thinking of women who haven't won a world title yet that have space carved out on these shows. And I don't want to frame this like a negative thing. Triple H is going to have to commit to more room for women on the main roster to make their investments that they've put into NXT that have 100% worked, to make those come to fruition. We talked about in episode 1, Tony signed Mariah May, told a great story. She's a world champion. Roxanne has been the best NXT women's champion prodigy since Sasha Banks. she has to come up on the main roster and slot into important storylines. And they're going to have to commit more time to women. And I think it's a great thing. But I also have this mistrust. Are they going to do it? Right. Because there's just so much talent. And I think the talent pipeline they have for women is so much better established than the talent pipeline they have for men. And if you're going to have NXT and have your customers, your crowd care about these wrestlers when they come up, it's so much better established for women than men. So do we get the mid-card title? Do we get non-title feuds? They're going to have to make space for all these women. What if Becky does come back? Charlotte is coming back.
Mm-hmm.
Bianca. Jade hasn't had a singles title run. You know, I presume that that's a goal for her. It's a great place to be, but they are either going to fail some of these women and what they're capable of, or, and hopefully, they're going to have to carve out more space for the women on each of these shows. Where, and I'll segue into Liv and Rhea. The women's title on either brand was not defended on this PLE. And we did get the tag champs on there, and I get that they're trying to do this 5-match deal, and Nia main evented. That's cool. But there's nothing about what they're doing with Liv and Rhea that makes that title feel like it's important at all. When Liv took it, it was part of I took your man, I took your title. And now it seems like Rhea only cares about the taking the man part of it. And that it's a great story and it's very over with the crowd, but the belt is a low-level accessory to the story. Not an accessory to the story, a low-level accessory to the story. And if they think there's more places to go with the Dom Rhea Liv thing, I would like Liv to get a title defense that Rhea causes her to lose.
I agree with you. It was actually one of my nitpicks of the Liv Rhea story recently, which is the title has become an ancillary piece. It is not a central figure in the plot for Rhea to get her revenge.
Right.
Rhea seems like her revenge is I'm just going to beat the crap out of Liv and Dom and the belt be damned. Like Rhea hasn't even said I'm coming back for my title. A title, by the way, she never lost. She had to relinquish. Right now, she did lose at SummerSlam when she got her opportunity, but she lost because of Dom and Liv. And this is the tricky place here with storylines like this because it's hot. You can't deny it. It's over. It gets the most ratings on Raw. It's over with the crowd. But what is over with the crowd? Is it simply they just want to see Rhea beat the crap out of Dom? Because if that's where this is headed, like if this is the end game of Rhea will beat Liv, which she, by the way, did at the PLE, and she dominated Liv, beat her, pinned her, to get to Dom, then Liv, to your point, doesn't need the belt either. You can give it to Io and let Io have the division be built around her, or you can give it to whoever. I don't know. You could pick somebody. But Liv has been a great champion. I like Liv with the belt. I like how she carries herself. What I'd like to see, to your point, is Liv maybe even come out and say, you know what, Rhea, I've already beaten you. I'm the last person to beat you twice. I don't need to deal with you anymore. You're done. I'm going to give other women an opportunity. Like I'd like to see a little bit of the Mercedes Moné get to the back of the line in this feud, where Liv says, I beat you. I don't need to prove it to you again. Io, come on down. Zelina Vega, come on down. I'm trying to think of a babyface on Raw right now, the women's side. Who's a babyface on Raw?
Lyra,
Kyrie. Doesn't matter who. Come on down. I'm Liv Morgan. I'm the best women's wrestler in the company. I'm the champ. Come on down, get some of this. I'm done with you, Rhea. Rhea, you gotta earn your spot back. And that's how we said it 3 weeks ago. And she mentioned her on the pre-show. Liv Morgan mentioned Raquel Rodriguez. I think Raquel Rodriguez is coming into this feud. And that would be good because it gives Rhea somebody to work with before she gets back to Liv. Because ultimately she's going to get the title. She's going to beat Liv. We know that. But I want Liv to get some different competition.
Yeah,
Because again, you've made your champion. I don't want to say weak because Liv has pinned Rhea twice, at least the last person to do it. But on the PLE, if you watch that mixed tag match, Liv was tremendous. Liv pulled out some moves I've never seen her pull out before. And I'm like, wow, she's really become a good in ring wrestler. But I want to see her face somebody other than Rhea until we get back to them, maybe at Mania, because
yeah.
you're right.
The,
The women's title has not been the important piece of the story.
yeah, and Liv fans, oh, they'd be upset. She hasn't gotten a chance to have her real title reign yet, and she's doing a great job. I'm not saying she's not. I'm saying if they're not going to put any additional effort outside of Rhea and Liv and Dom into what they're doing, she needs to drop the belt. Preferably, why aren't the other women calling out Liv? Right? Like no one cares about the belt now because Rhea and Liv have this thing going on. So I'd like to see other women saying, "Hey, Rhea, you lost. It's my time to shine," or Liv doing it however way. But I think if they could book it where she's going to get a couple good, successful title defenses under her belt, then do it. But I there are so many limited opportunities for women on the show currently that I hate to see the belt tied up in a story that I'm not sure the crowd cares about the belt being in the story. That's my rub. Nothing against Liv. It's probably harder to be part of a story that's this over than it is to be champion. So I'm not diminishing what Liv and Rhea are doing because there have been many women who have been champion and not been in anything this over. So they're not failing in any way. It's just you're the women's world champion. The belt has to be part of it. That's the first thing you strip from Rhea. Then you got her boyfriend in her group, and revenge seems to be centered on the boyfriend in the group. And it's because Liv is not currently a fighting champion. If she was, then that would be weaved into the story, right? And I get she's a heel. She's not necessarily going to go out there and do open challenges, but
No,
they
she isn't. No, you're right. She isn't. But she can also tell Rhea, you're
back
not
of the
getting
line,
any
like
more
you
title
said,
matches,
perfect.
right?
Yep.
Like you can also do it that way. And that way somebody else could then step up and say, okay, you're scared to fight Rhea, fight me. And this is the danger where you make the central plot of a story a guy. Because let's be real here. That's what this is, right? The guy, the
Yep.
group, whatever you want to phrase it. But this is about Dom now. It isn't about the title anymore. It's about Dom. It's Rhea wanting to kill Dom, which obviously will get a much bigger pop than Rhea winning the title back. Because I think most fans are going to be conditioned that when they really want to give Rhea the belt back, they'll give her the belt back.
She's getting it back. Yeah.
She's getting it back, right? But really, they want to see her kill Dom. And if that's really where this is headed, then I'm completely okay with a scenario where Rhea doesn't even go after the title until she beats up Dom. And maybe that's how she gets the title match at Mania, which is she says, I will beat Dom. And if I can beat your boyfriend, I'm going to get my title match. And I think that's a good way to spin this down the road towards Mania. But I agree. I mean, the women's title has been defended more by Nia Jax, I think, in her short time. Well, she's defended it once, But when is the last Liv Morgan has defended the title once. I think she did the Zelina Vega one on Raw, and then she did Rhea Ripley at SummerSlam, and that's it. And Nia has already defended it against, Michin, and she's gonna probably do the defense against Bayley at Bad Blood because they have Bad Blood. I think they're going in that direction. And maybe Liv and Rhea is going to be Hell in a Cell at Bad Blood for the title, and that's where Raquel Rodriguez comes back. But I still think taking the belt off of Liv so soon is a mistake. But I also think not having the belt be a central part of the story is a mistake.
Yep.
So they've kind of they've done such a good job with this feud, and it's gotten so over that it's almost like they've lost kind of what the purpose of the feud is. Like, is it the belt? Is it the guy? Is it the group? Is it all three? Is it Rhea's just mad? And then because Damian Priest is involved in this, he's been so over. He's been so good. You can't just brush him aside. So again, Rhea and Damian's revenge tour should start with them taking the tag belts. That's how I would do this. Okay, we're going to take the tag belts from you, Liv. See, Liv, everybody thought you being the new leader of Judgment Day is better for them. Well, look, we've taken the tag belts. Then slowly but surely, she goes after the women's title. But yeah, I agree. I agree with you completely that they've almost lost the point of this. And I'd like to see Liv with some different feuds as well.
Yeah, and the writing's not helping them from the women's championship standpoint. And again, people maybe they love it and they think my opinion sucks. But I remember Liv the thing that she was most mad about, getting hurt, not having a chance to win that title that was so important to her because she was hurt. You think of her trying to beat Rhea for that title, her trying to beat Becky for that title, finally beating Becky, right, for the title. How much that title meant to her. And now the writing is, Dom loves her because he can eat chicken nuggets whenever he wants to. Like that Liv Morgan revenge tour was about her being the best and proving it. And that is lost lately with the writing. And when I thought she was just masterminding the whole thing to hurt Rhea in as many ways as she could, I thought it was brilliant, really good. Because Dom left Rhea because Rhea, ultimately didn't respect him, but then he's just a pawn for Liv was maybe the story, but now it's just leaned too far into that for my liking without the belt being involved at all. So maybe I'm old, I don't know, but I just want to see that belt get propped up. That belt has one of the best lineages of any title in all of women's wrestling.
I agree.
Correct me if I'm wrong. This is the SmackDown belt, right?
Yes. Yes.
So, because it's hard to keep track now that they switched shows and they renamed them, but this is the SmackDown Women's Championship. So, this is the belt that Sasha Banks's best reign, Bayley's best reign, Asuka's first reign, Bianca's first reign. Mm-hmm. Charlotte, some of her best stuff was on this belt. Becky's first reign was this belt. I think Becky got more known for the Raw one later, but her first reign was on this belt. Alexa Bliss became a star because of this, with this belt.
Naomi won the belt at Mania in her hometown. Yeah, Carmella cashed in with this belt and had a feud with Charlotte and Asuka where she beat both of them by pinfall to lose to SummerSlam to set up Becky Charlotte. But we think back at Carmella, we talk about her quite a bit because of the cash in. She beat Asuka and Charlotte back to back before losing the belt. That doesn't happen in WWE. I mean, maybe Becky's done it. Maybe Bianca's done it. No, Bianca hasn't even beat Charlotte yet. But it's crazy to think that they gave Carmella that spot and she beat Charlotte clean. she took her leg out and hooked, and beat her, and then she beat Asuka. So yeah, I
And
mean,
and Liv totally lives up to the lineage. I love Liv. I think she's great. She's fantastic in the ring. Sells her ass off, bumps her ass off. And again, they're going with what's working with the crowd. I get that, but I'd like to see her defend the belt a couple more times because I know she could put on great matches that will also be a memorable part of her reign. Not just against Rhea, where we're waiting for Rhea to beat her, but matches we know she's going to win, but she can put on a show. And if not, then they do need to move the belt on to something else if they're going to just lean into all the other stuff, in my opinion. But any final thoughts? I mean, just overall a fantastic week. Hopefully we get even more tonight with Jade and Bianca being featured, I presume, on both shows now going forward, which
yeah,
is great for the brand.
good.
It's great for women's wrestling and the segments, because both of them are going to get time always, and this is the right way to make those women's tag belts feel like a big deal. And I think give it a month, they'll feel like a bigger deal than any of the men's tag titles. Maybe less than
You
that.
you said something on part one about the commentator for New Japan, the gentleman. I don't know his name.
Walker Stewart.
Walker Stewart. I saw the match back. I listened to his commentator. He was really good. Here's my question for WWE, and we can end on this. Joe Tessitore, ESPN fame, starts tonight on Monday Night Raw. This is his first broadcast. I ask again, WWE, why do you consistently bring in these sports commentators from the outside world to do wrestling? It has never worked. Mike Adamle, what was the other guy's name from ESPN? He was on for like 2 weeks.
British guy, right? I don't remember his name.
Mike Adamle's one, and then there was another guy who they brought in, and he didn't work. It doesn't work. But when you have talent like Walker Stewart out there, why aren't you saying, okay, let's go get him, let's put him under the Michael Cole learning tree, and let's get him ready for Raw. I get the big name of Tessitore. I know he's been a lifelong fan, but you know what? I've been a lifelong fan. I don't think I'm qualified to do it
Now,
unless you
now
give me the proper training.
Tessitore did call Friday Night Fights ESPN boxing for a long time. We'll see if that translates. Calling in-ring action maybe translates a little bit better, but I tend to like my commentary people in the wrestling world that are interweaved into the show a little bit, right? Michael Cole is part of the show. He
Yeah.
interacts with that's how you get the Bayley Michael Cole feud, is that he's part of the show. It's part of the gimmick, right? Whereas Joe Tessitore, as great as he is calling play-by-play, I imagine they're just going to have him there calling play-by-play.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of sanitizes that whole deal. But we'll see.
All right. Well, on that note, folks, this is the end of part two. We gave you a 2-pack this week because we had so much content to cover. We look forward to talking to you next week on another great episode. Football season is back. Fly, Eagles, fly.
Whew.
I know you
Go
are
Lions.
Honolulu Blue Lions. Both of our teams have really big games this week. We play the Packers, so you clearly are cheering for us this week in
Clearly.
Brazil.
Yep.
And you guys are facing your old quarterback in Matt Stafford on Sunday night, which, again, for all you Lions fans out there, it's awesome to see that you guys are such a great fan base and you get the first Sunday night game of the year, which is amazing to see. So on that
I'm
note, we
excited.
will end this week's podcast on that. Oreo, say bye to everybody. Bye.
Bye,
And we'll
Oreo.
talk to you guys next week. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.